Michael Jordan wasn't just driven by talent, he was driven by obsession. This is the same man who feared water after a childhood trauma, smoked cigars to calm his nerves before home games, got fined $5,000 per game for refusing to change his shoes, and turned friendly games like Yahtzee into all-out psychological warfare. When someone crossed him, embarrassed him, or challenged his control, Jordan didn't forget, and these are the only 6 players Michael Jordan never forgave. Number 1. Isiah Thomas. The story between Michael Jordan and Isiah Thomas wasn't built in one moment, it stacked itself over years. Through bruising playoff series, personal interpretations, and moments neither man ever forgot. Long before championships were on the line, the tension took root at the 1985 All-Star Game. Jordan, still a rookie, felt ignored on the court by veteran Eastern Conference players. Whether it was intentional or not, Jordan became convinced there was an effort to put him in his place. In his mind, Isiah, already a star and a respected leader, represented that resistance. Thomas has always denied organizing anything, but Jordan accepted the story as truth and never let it go. As the league shifted, the rivalry turned physical. Detroit became Chicago's biggest obstacle, and Thomas's Pistons embraced a ruthless identity. Their defensive blueprint, later known as the Jordan Rules, focused on constant contact. Every drive to the rim came with punishment. The goal wasn't subtle. Wear Jordan down, break his rhythm, and test his limits. The strategy worked. Detroit ended Chicago's season 3 straight years from 1988 to 1990. To Jordan, this wasn't just hard-nosed basketball, it felt personal, and he saw Isiah as the man who allowed it. Everything flipped in 1991. Chicago finally broke through and swept Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals. But instead of a handshake line, the Pistons left the floor early. Isiah walked off with his teammates, bypassing Jordan entirely. For Jordan, that moment sealed his opinion. It wasn't forgotten, it wasn't forgiven. He referenced it years later as a line that could never be uncrossed. What makes the rivalry more complicated is that Jordan never questioned Thomas's talent. In fact, he's repeatedly praised it. Jordan has openly said that if Magic Johnson is the greatest point guard ever, then Isiah is right behind him. That balance, admiration for ability, rejection of character, became the theme of their relationship. Respect the skill, reject the man. The tension followed them beyond the NBA. When the original Dream Team was formed for the 1992 Olympics, Isiah was left off the roster despite being a 2-time champion and one of the league's best guards. Over time, reports surfaced that Jordan had made it clear he wouldn't participate if Thomas was included. Jordan later avoided naming Isiah directly, instead saying the team's chemistry was better without him. Thomas never accepted that explanation. Years passed and the edge seemed to dull briefly. When Jordan played his final game, Isiah publicly praised him, calling him the greatest player he had ever seen. He acknowledged Jordan's complete dominance, scoring defense, athleticism, and control over games in ways even legends like Bird and Magic couldn't match. Coming from Thomas, it sounded like closure. That illusion didn't last. When The Last Dance aired in 2020, Jordan reignited everything with a single on-camera insult, calling Isiah an a-hole. Thomas was stunned. He believed the documentary would tell the full story, not reopen old wounds. To him, it felt like public humiliation after years of silence. His response was clear. If the disrespect was public, the apology should be too. Since then, Isiah has made it clear that the feud wasn't over. He said he felt misrepresented, embarrassed, and set up. In his view, Jordan chose to restart a conflict that had finally gone quiet. Until those words are taken back publicly, nothing changes. Jordan, as always, has said nothing. No apology, no clarification, no attempt to smooth it over. He continues to acknowledge Isiah Thomas as one of the greatest players ever, but stops there. Talent earned respect, everything else did not. And that's why, decades later, this rivalry still hasn't cooled. Number 2. Charles Barkley. Michael Jordan did not forgive many people, and Charles Barkley ended up on that list, even though their story did not start as hatred. It started as competition, then friendship, and finally betrayal in Jordan's eyes. The first crack formed before either man played a single NBA game. In 1984, both were invited to try out for Team USA ahead of the Los Angeles Olympics. Jordan made the final roster. Barkley did not. Barkley later admitted that cut stayed with him. He believed he was one of the best players at camp and said he never got a fair chance. Even then, Barkley already saw something different in Jordan, calling him the best player he had ever seen. That moment planted respect, but also envy, long before the NBA rivalry fully formed. Once they entered the league, their paths crossed constantly. Through the late 1980s and early 1990s, Chicago Bulls and Phoenix Suns met again and again in high-stakes games. Barkley was one of a few stars who did not shrink around Jordan. He challenged him physically and verbally, and Jordan noticed. Still, during those years, the rivalry stayed on the court. Off the court, they were close. That friendship peaked in 1992 when they played together on the Dream Team. They traveled together, joked together, and dominated the world together. Barkley even led the team in scoring. At that point, there was no public tension. They were rivals in games, friends in real life. Everything changed in 1993. Barkley won MVP and led the Suns to the NBA Finals, setting up the biggest collision of their careers. Jordan's Bulls beat Barkley's Suns in 6 games. Barkley played well, but Jordan was historic. That finals did not break their friendship, but it quietly reset the balance. Barkley had the MVP. Jordan took the title. Jordan always remembered who walked away with the ring. After retirement, the relationship survived for years. Barkley moved into broadcasting, Jordan into ownership. The real break came in 2012. Barkley worked on TNT, criticized Jordan's leadership as owner of the Charlotte franchise. He said Jordan surrounded himself with people who would not challenge him and called them yes men. Barkley said he had to be honest because criticizing everyone else but protecting his best friend would destroy his credibility. Jordan did not see honesty, he saw disrespect. The two had a heated phone call. After that, Jordan cut him off completely. No calls, no meetings, no forgiveness. Barkley later said he loved Jordan like a brother and had nothing against him, but the friendship was over. What made this different from other feuds is that Barkley never attacked Jordan as a player. He attacked his leadership. That crossed a line Jordan never allowed anyone to cross. For Jordan, loyalty mattered more than tone. Barkley chose truth over loyalty, and Jordan chose silence forever. Barkley has spoken about it since, saying the ball is in Jordan's court and that Jordan has his number. He has expressed regret over losing the friendship but has never taken back the criticism. From Jordan's side, there has been no response. They were rivals, and when Barkley spoke publicly in a way Jordan felt challenged his authority, that was the end. Number 3. Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause was not a player, but to Michael Jordan, he became one of a few people inside the Bulls who felt like an enemy. This fight was about credit, control, and respect, and it started early, then got worse every year until it poisoned the end of the dynasty. The first real problem showed up in 1985-86 when Jordan broke his foot. Jordan wanted to play. Krause and the front office restricted him and treated the situation like an asset problem, not a competitor problem. Krause later explained it in simple terms. Jordan worked for the team and the team had to protect itself. Jordan hated that mindset. To him, it felt like being treated like property instead of the reason the franchise mattered. Then came 1988 when Krause traded Charles Oakley. Oakley was just a teammate to Jordan. He was his protector and his closet guy in the locker room. Krause saw it as a roster move. Jordan saw it as a personal shot. That trade created a line between them that never healed. After that, the insults became public. Jordan started calling Krause Crumbs, a nickname tied to the idea that Krause always had donut crumbs on his clothes. It was disrespect, and it became part of the team culture. The players mocked Krause's size and presence, and Krause felt like he was constantly being reminded that he was not one of them. But the real gasoline was Krause's favorite line: organizations win championships. Krause wanted the world to give the front office credit, not just the stars. Jordan heard that as Krause trying to shrink the players' work. Jordan believed the organization could build a roster, but the players still had to bleed for it. Every time Krause pushed the idea, Jordan took it personally. Their relationship got so toxic that even small conversations could explode. One famous story came from Jordan's 1992 Playboy interview that later resurfaced. Jordan asked Krause to name his all-time starting 5, and Krause picked a group that did not include Magic Johnson or Larry Bird. Jordan was furious. He said he could not believe Krause left off the faces of the modern NBA. Then Jordan claimed he told Krause he would kill him for disrespecting them. The point was not the list. The point was Jordan felt Krause was always trying to act like he knew basketball better than the people who were actually defining it. By the mid-1990s, the power struggle was open. Krause wanted to be seen as the architect. Jordan wanted Krause to stay in his lane. This is why The Last Dance framed Krause as the main internal villain. He wanted to rebuild, he wanted control, and he was willing to break the room to prove the franchise could outlive the stars. That included the pressure around Phil Jackson and the idea that the run would end no matter what happened in 1997 to 98. Jordan took that as Krause trying to end the story while Jordan was still writing it. And Jordan never let it go after retirement. In 2009, at his Hall of Fame induction, Jordan still took shots at Krause publicly, including jokes about the invitation and the famous organizations win championships angle. Krause later admitted those words hurt him deeply, saying, "It ripped me pretty good," and explained he did not attend partly because of a promise related to Tex Winter's Hall of Fame situation. Not because he was trying to disrespect Jordan. Jordan either did not know or did not care. Number 4. Brian Russell. Brian Russell is one of those names Michael Jordan never let go of, because their beef started with pure disrespect and ended with Jordan's most famous dagger. The origin goes back to 1994 during Jordan's first retirement. Jordan said he was in Chicago with no thoughts of returning to basketball when Russell approached him and said, "Why'd you quit? You know I could guard you if I ever see you in a pair of shorts." Jordan later repeated this story in his 2009 Hall of Fame induction speech and framed it as the kind of comment that stayed in his head. Jordan also described the next stage clearly. After he returned in 1995 when they faced Utah later on, he reminded Russell of those 1994 remarks and told him, "Well, you're about to get your chance." Russell later confirmed Jordan's version of the 1994 moment, saying it happened the way Jordan told it, and that Stockton and Malone were there, and he viewed it as part of what motivated Jordan. From there, the rivalry escalated on the biggest stage possible. In the 1998 NBA Finals, Game 6 produced one of the most iconic shots in league history. Jordan isolated Russell, created separation, and hit the championship-winning jumper that sealed an 87-86 win and the Bulls' 6th title. That clip became known as the last shot, but it also became controversial because critics argue Jordan created space with a push-off, while others say Russell simply lost his footing on the move and the timing. Russell's name became attached to that moment permanently, and the debate followed him long after retirement. The tension didn't end there because in 2009, after Jordan mentioned him in the Hall of Fame speech, Russell leaned into it and publicly pushed for a one-on-one matchup, saying he believed he could beat Jordan without teammates or special treatment. And later he summed up why he thought Jordan wanted no part of it by saying there's no Jordan rules when you play one-on-one. The proposed game never happened, but the talk kept the rivalry alive in public. Years later, Russell also explained why he wasn't part of The Last Dance, saying he declined because he didn't want to bust his bubble, meaning he understood it was Jordan's documentary and Jordan's story, and he didn't want to be the guy who disrupted that version of events. Even while being remembered mainly for that 1998 shot, Russell continued to defend his overall legacy in Utah, including saying that 20 years after the push-off debate, he believed that Jazz should retire his jersey because of his long-term contributions to those finals-level teams. Jordan, on the other side, never showed any public softening toward Russell, and the relationship stayed defined by that 1994 insult, the 1998 shot, and the later one-on-one challenge that never became real. Number 5. Reggie Miller. Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller matchups weren't fueled by fear or awe. They were fueled by friction. Reggie talked too much, moved too freely, stared too long, and never acted like he was supposed to fall in line. That alone made him unforgettable to Michael Jordan. Most players treated Jordan like a natural disaster. You survived him. You endured him. Reggie didn't buy into that. He challenged him with words, confidence, and a refusal to submit. Jordan never said he feared Reggie, but he clearly didn't respect him in a way he respected silence or obedience. Reggie was noise, and Jordan hated noise. One moment captures the imbalance perfectly. In 1993, during a heated Bulls-Pacers game, things turned ugly. A confrontation escalated, and in the chaos, Jordan scraped Reggie's eye. Years later, Reggie explained he was simply trying to avoid being put in a chokehold. He assumed both of them would be punished. Double technicals, maybe both ejected. Instead, Reggie was thrown out, later suspended while Jordan stayed on the floor. For Reggie, that wasn't just about one game. It was proof that Jordan played by different rules. But the fight wasn't what bothered Jordan most, it was Reggie's mouth. Trash talk from a skinny shooter who wouldn't bow drove him insane. Jordan later admitted that playing against Reggie irritated him deeply, and that admission says everything. Reggie never played scared, and Jordan noticed. They met 56 times over their careers, including multiple playoff series. Jordan usually came out on top, and that imbalance only sharpened the tension. Reggie has never hidden how conflicted those battles made him. He said he loved Jordan, respected him, and hated him all at once. That wasn't drama, it was honest. Getting close, falling short, and watching Jordan move on with more titles left marks that never fully healed. The pain followed Reggie long after retirement. When The Last Dance was released, Reggie initially refused to participate. The loss to Jordan in 1998 Eastern Conference Finals was still too raw. According to Jalen Rose, it was simply too painful for Reggie to relive. That alone shows how deeply the rivalry cut. And yet, time softened some edges. When Reggie later appeared alongside Jordan on an all-time shooting guard list, his reaction wasn't bitterness, it was gratitude. He said he felt honored just to be included. That moment mattered because it showed something real. Beneath all that trash talk and resentment, the respect never disappeared. Reggie once joked that if he ever saw Jordan again, he might punch him, then immediately admitted the admiration was still there. That contradiction defines their relationship. Number 6. Scottie Pippen. For most of their playing careers, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen functioned as partners whose relationship was strictly professional. Pippen has since made it clear that despite appearances, they were never close friends. Never socialized much outside basketball and rarely interacted once seasons ended. The rupture began in 2020 with the release of The Last Dance, a series that focused heavily on Jordan's perspective and control of the Bulls era. Pippen felt the documentary centered Jordan as the sole driver of success, while minimizing the contributions of teammates, especially his own. He publicly said the series failed to show the team concept and framed events in ways that elevated Jordan while diminishing others. That anger became the foundation of everything that followed. Pippen believed the documentary rewrote history in Jordan's favor, and because Jordan was a producer, Pippen viewed it as intentional rather than accidental. After the documentary aired, Pippen went public in a way he never had before. He criticized Jordan's style of play before Pippen joined the Bulls, calling him a horrible player at that stage, saying it was all isolation basketball and bad shots, and claiming winning was not Jordan's top priority early on. Pippen argued that once the Bulls became a real team, the narrative shifted, and the documentary ignored that transformation. These comments marked a clear escalation because they directly challenged Jordan's mythology and timing, not his championships. At the same time, Pippen clarified the reality of their relationship. He said openly that he and Jordan were never close, never went to dinner together, and never maintained a personal friendship. He revealed that their last real communication happened around 2020, right when the documentary controversy surfaced. From Pippen's point of view, the partnership was effective on the court, but emotionally distant, and once respect was lost, there was nothing holding it together. Other Bulls voices tried to cool the situation. Former teammate Bill Cartwright publicly called the feud nonsense and said it was time to move on, emphasizing that the group won championships and that he personally had no complaints. His comments highlighted that many inside the locker room did not see the same bitterness Pippen now expressed. However, Cartwright's stance did not change the core issue, because the conflict was not about shared memories, but about how history was being told decades later. Pippen did not back down. In interviews and his memoir, he repeated that Jordan's competitive personality made genuine friendship impossible, and that their lives and backgrounds never aligned. He also suggested the documentary was released to reinforce Jordan's position in modern GOAT debates, further feeding his resentment. Each public statement made reconciliation less likely, because Jordan historically does not respond well to criticism delivered publicly. From Jordan's side, the silence was consistent. He did not respond publicly, did not counter Pippen's claims, and did not engage in back-and-forth explanations. That silence followed a familiar pattern seen with others Jordan cut off. Once he felt loyalty was broken and his image challenged, the relationship ended without repair. Even shared history, championships, and Hall of Fame status were not enough to override that. Jordan remembered everything, every slight, every word, every look. Some people got his respect back. These 6 never did. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like and subscribe for more untold NBA stories.